I just said
tangent.
who controls hookup culture, men or women.
Yeah, I think women do, because they control access to sex. And your point was that, well, some men are going to be deceptive and misrepresent their intentions. I think that's wrong.
I think both people are lying. Generally, on the first date, the guy's pretending that he wants a relationship, and on the first date, the woman's pretending that she's okay with keeping things casual. And I think that actually, that's a good Trojan horse to get into a relationship. A lot of guys are going to be spooked if you show up on the first date asking and demanding, where is this going? What do you want? What are your plans? That's not really that sounds like a job interview. And that's going to be off-putting to a lot of guys who might not be interested in getting to know you after that point. It's like, how do I know what I want from you when I'm just meeting you? So being willing to go with things is sort of like the Trojan horse to get into a relationship. Think about some of like the best relationships that you've had, if you've had a lot of experience. Oftentimes it's when you're like, this is just for a summer, or it's nothing serious, and he's going to move away in a few months, so it's not going to go anywhere. And then you end up developing these really intense feelings for each other, partly because there are these like limiting factors that make it safer for you to be yourself and to show up in more like authentic and emotional ways.
Yeah, I think the best relationships usually come at the most unexpected times. And I don't think it's the best idea to ask, like, where is this going? What are you exactly looking for on the first date? Because you just met them, and I think you should get to know them first a little bit.
It's also not natural, and you're putting like too much pressure into something that's supposed to be seamless and natural, and two people that are trying to get to know each other. And also, I mean, in general, like even using any sort of dating app, like already it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not very natural. It's not organic.
I disagree with that, because there's a lot of like, I think it's more of a time saver if you ask up front, because usually guys already know what they want, like I've asked before, like, hey, what are you looking for? Or I've been asked, and I'll say, oh, well, I'm looking for a relationship, and what about you? The guy will say, oh, I'm just looking to hook up. So, if you don't know that up front, the whole time you'll be pursuing a relationship with that guy, and in his mind, he's just trying to hook up.
And did you sleep with that person?
No.
See, it's a self-correcting problem. The next time that guy is asked that question, even if he wants to hook up, he's not going to say that.
Well, some guys are honest, though.
They're upfront about it. They're honest until they realize their honesty isn't getting them what they want. So if you punish the truth, you're asking to be lied to.
Also, just to come back to Farha, did I say it right? Farha? Yeah. To come back to your point, you were saying that, well, women typically they're interested more so in long-term in relationships, and men are more interested in casual sex. But
yeah,
I mean,
I've heard you say that sex is the precipice of a relationship. So
have I said that?
Yeah.
Is precipice even in my vocabulary?
It surprised me. I was thoroughly impressed.
Are you sure? Precipice?
You said precipice.
I said precipice.
Yeah.
You sure it's not like some other red pill guy you're
said
watching?
Sex is the precipice of a relationship in modern dating. So I would only see hookup culture, the onus being on women if you didn't believe that and you thought women should hold out until they're in relationships. But you were saying, I think your point was that women have it better in terms of dating because they're able to secure men for fucking, and then from there they could develop it into a relationship.
Sure.
So my point was, it would be consistent for you to say like women control hookup culture if they hold out sex until they're in relationships. But then that would be inconsistent with your other point. And the other thing I was going to say, I've also heard, I think you've said this as well, it's a higher percentage of women who believe they're in a monogamous relationship than men, which kind of proves that men are sleeping with other women on the side and not being honest about it with women, right?
I think you're referencing that there's a Pew study that came out recently that said that within, I think, the ages of 18 to 30, I don't know the exact age range, maybe let's say 18 to 30, 63% of women in that age demographic considered themselves in relationships, whereas something like 20 to 30% of men in that same age cohort considered themselves single.
Right. I guess my point was that kind of just proves maybe men are misrepresenting their intentions, because those women could think they're in monogamous relationships. Or a lot of my female friends in college have thought like, oh, this guy told me he's only seeing me. And then if I become friends with the guy, I find out he tells me he's like, oh yeah, no, I am sleeping with other women. So yeah, that's why I'm saying like, I think men control hookup culture.
Men control, I mean.
I don't think so, because I think the desire to sleep with multiple women has been around since men have been on this planet. But it wasn't really possible until there was a loosening of, let's say, social mores about that. And even if that desire has been constant for thousands of years, why haven't there been hookup culture for thousands of years? Like, what's changed in recent times?
Well, like she put it out, the sexual revolution.
Feminism. You can say it, Farah. Feminism.
The difference is that now people are more likely to have sex before they get into relationships.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did say one thing which I disagree with a little bit, and you said that, well, women want relationships more and men are kind of more interested in casual sex. I don't know if that's actually true, because I mean, there's a whole lot of women that seem to very willingly and happily, maybe happily isn't the right word, engage in hookup culture, that will sleep with a guy once with no intention of seeing him again, will be traveling, hook up with a guy while she's traveling, she's on spring break, hook up with a guy there. I mean, are you from California?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so like the city we're in Santa Barbara. UCSB is one of the #1 party schools in the U.S., and here in this little square mile, Isla Vista, there's a pretty rampant like hookup culture, and I'd say in a lot of I don't know if a lot, but in a lot of universities, especially in college, there's definitely like hookup culture. People are just going out on the weekends, partying, hooking up, and this trope that women are so desirous of having relationships. I think there's a truth to that, but I think I see a lot of women pretty happily engaging in hookup culture.
Yeah, I guess it depends by the location and like the campus scene. But
Sure.
even the women who do participate in hookup culture, knowing that it's just a casual hookup, like this is purely anecdotal, but I see again, like from my friends in college, they'd still be waiting around to see if that guy will text her. So they still have emotional interest and they're hoping it'll develop into like more, she's hoping she can change him.
Yeah, I
But
think
you
the
didn't-
idea of hookup culture, like there's just totally random casual sex and that's it, is probably overstated in social media and in our culture. I think that same Pew study suggests that men and women both are having less sex today than they did 10 years ago. It's like, I think that there's actually becoming less of that because men and women are getting like not on the same page as much these days for lots of different reasons. And that's why men often have problems with online issues and women often get caught up in social media. We're not really seeing eye to eye in a lot of ways anymore. And dating is riskier in some respects than it's ever been.
I
Word.
think, I don't know if you already moved on, but like the question about the hookup culture and who has control of it.
Yeah.
Like my personal take is that it is women because like you said, we're gatekeepers of it. If we understood like the risk that we're taking when we sleep with a man who's not committed to us, we could literally get pregnant by him and not have him around the next day. So like you don't want to get pregnant and have to carry that child for 9 months without support, without that strong provision and that strong protection. And so we need to think long term. And I also think that fathers are a huge influence in stopping hookup culture, you know, because they can teach their daughters the importance of this. They can be that strong father figure to tell them not to have sex with any man, that they must commit themselves to you for life. Because then that's a form of protection for your heart, you know, not just your body, but your heart and your spirit and your mind. That way you don't have to be depressed. You don't have to worry about an unplanned pregnancy. You don't have to worry about being a single mom and things like that, because you're taught that you are valuable, that you are precious, you know, that you must commit to a man who loves you and will raise children with you because you need that. And so I think it's both. Women for sure, because they get to say yes or no. But I think fathers will bring that revolution back when they teach their daughters what a strong man looks like and what to look for in a future husband. and they get to be that standard and that example, and they can change, the way that things are going.
Wait, so far, do you think that it's men are to blame for hookup culture? Or you think it's both?
I
or
wouldn't even call it a blame thing. I guess I was saying who creates the culture of casual sex. I'm not even vilifying it
who
necessarily.
creates the culture of casual sex?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say it's probably the party that wants casual sex, right?
I think it's feminism and fatherlessness, which
But
happens at the same time because wives are taught to leave their husbands, and then daughters grow up without their fathers.
But the thing is that far fewer men are capable or do engage in hookup culture.
I don't think that's true. What's the population of men who can't secure sex? Was it like a third? So that's still
It's more than women that can't secure sex.
But I'm still saying that leaves open like the 2/3 of men who are able to fuck.
Well, but two-thirds of men can't easily participate in hookup culture. The 1/3 of men, I think the stat is they report that in the past year they've not had sex.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that the other 2/3 of men are just
Fucking
able
all
to
the
crush
time.
it
Mm-hmm.
like every fucking weekend, like just go out and bang a new chick. I would say that's reserved for the top tier of men. I want to say the top 10% of men are able to like consistently get with a new girl once a week, maybe. I mean,
Mhm.
that's pretty remarkable. But whereas the ability to, I would say almost any woman, even unattractive women, if they were so inclined, could fuck a new guy every single day of the week. And for a guy to be able to do that, that's reserved for like men, not only good-looking men, but men with status.
Yeah, I guess hookup culture usually refers to like college campuses. So there's already a certain status there in terms of being able to afford college, get into college. So I feel like men who go to college maybe are more attractive than like the average sample.
Well, I
So
mean, I
they
think-
probably have easier time fucking. Like I think the incel population at college is probably a little bit smaller than it is for the general population.
Well, I mean, I think hookup culture extends beyond college, but that's definitely.
That's usually where the conversation takes place. I'm just saying, who do you think has more to benefit, like the guy or the girl, for trying to convince women that you'll be more empowered, you'll like have way more fun having casual sex? Is it like the cohorts of women who are like comforting each other because they can't get a text back from a guy they hooked up with last week?
I don't
or
know. Women can have multiple orgasms, so it's a tough one there in terms of who gets the benefit from a sexual.
Yeah, is there anybody else that's like sex positive here? I mean, I like sex, and is there any women here that don't see a sexual encounter that didn't end in a committed relationship not a sin or a mistake? Excellent.
I don't know what you asked.
Like, does any sexual encounter with a man that doesn't end in a committed relationship a sin or a mistake?
So can it be a positive
Absolutely.
experience?
positive.
I don't think it's necessarily bad sleeping with people. I think it's more so the amount of people you're sleeping with and how available you're making yourself to those men. Because I feel like us as women, we do open the gates to allowing men to be the way that they are sometimes, but I guess it also just depends on the person too.
I just want to bring it back to you. So, and if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing here. I
Yeah.
think that there's like this eternal arms race between men and women. And I think it kind of boils down like this, is that all things being equal, men generally want as much sex as they can get with as little time and expenditure of resources as possible and with the most freedom. On the other hand, I think that most women want as much time, energy, and attention and securement of resources as they can for the least provision of sex. All other things being equal. And that's sort of like the negotiation between men and women that occurs in the sexual marketplace. When women say that like it's bad to have sex outside of a committed relationship, on some level what they're saying is that they're giving it away too cheaply. And it's like, okay, well, why is that? Well, it's like the idea here is you might be able to get more for your sex than you're currently getting, and that's a problem for you, sister.